Good morning, beautiful people in my phone. Welcome to Car Conversations, where we talk all things faith, freedom, football, etc. My name is Jocelyn Carr. Good morning. Yes, that sounds like it probably is a frog in my throat this morning. And I said I wasn't going to come back on here, but clearly I need to continue to process some things out loud as we're starting to get more and more information about how things are unfolding in the locker room inside Alabama. Before I get into that, I do want to say continued prayers for those who have been affected by Hurricane Helene that have lost everything. We've seen the damage, we've seen the destruction, the devastation that's taken place, wiping out much of Asheville, North Carolina, areas of eastern Tennessee. It has just really been horrific. All of that a week ago, now, and here we are with another major storm about to roll through and go across the state of Florida. So thoughts and prayers for those that are in preparation of this next storm, who are still reeling from the last. And for those who maybe weren't affected by the last one, but have received the mandatory evacuation and know that it's going to be, they're about to get some potentially catastrophic weather, once again, where the grounds are already saturated and soaked. So my thoughts and prayers go out to them. I don't want to make it seem like all I care about is Alabama football. That's not the case at all. But right now it is at the front. It's on the frontal lobe right now. Just because, this is what happens when the rarity occurs that Alabama loses a game. We have to dissect it. What happened? We have to carefully analyze, what we need to do moving forward. I will say this. I have heard that there was absolutely a team player meeting, and that lots of good came from that player meeting. We have seen over the last 24 hours, Jaheim Otis declare a red shirt for this year because he plans to enter the portal. He's on the defensive side of the ball, and he has not apparently, he hasn't, the stats will show that he hasn't got a whole lot of playing time in. I don't know what, I don't know the ins and outs and the whys as to why he hasn't gotten as much playing time, other than, you do have to produce, you have to perform at practice, and you have to compete, to earn that spot. So I wish him the best. I wish him the absolute best. Here's what we know about what the portal and what NIL have done to college football that makes the coaches who are able to navigate it and handle it well be so successful. Because this landscape is completely different, right? It's completely different. There's a delicate balance that must take place, with making sure that you are coaching, leading well your players, disciplining your players, loving your players, making your players feel seen and valued and know that they're loved and heard. But there's a delicate balance with that, as well as, really putting the hammer down when you need to, because love does discipline. I said discipline, but love does definitely discipline, right? And so how do we manage the two? And we saw this, and I'm not just talking about, the situation with Jaheim. These little private planes out here flying early in the morning, they got to get to where they need to be for work this morning, or whatever they're doing. But I'm not just talking about Jaheim Otis. I'm thinking about Malachi Moore. And I made some statements yesterday about Malachi Moore in that situation, like leave it in the locker room, because I think, and I need to apologize for that particular statement, because I was basing it off on not seeing the full footage of what he did. Now, I'm not excusing what he did at all. And I wish that he had handled his emotions a little bit better. But what I neglected to remember is all of the emotional outbursts, because it's been a minute since we've seen it on the field from Alabama. Honestly, it has been a minute. I saw some footage this morning of old clips of Alabama players fighting each other on the sideline under Coach Saban. I was reminded of that BCS national title that we were up against Notre Dame or somebody. It was probably Notre Dame, and AJ McCarron and the center. Yeah. I'm looking at his whole face right now. You know what I'm talking about. They got into it at the line of scrimmage on the play call, had to call a timeout because they arguing about what play to call on the field, in the natty, up. I mean, I believe the game was pretty much over. And I do love to see that. You love to see when your players, when your team is going to hold each other accountable on the field to play with excellence. Like, this is not the standard. So the frustration that I think Malachi was exhibiting was, this ain't it. We know this ain't it. We know how to win. His name is Barrett Jones. It was AJ McCarron and Barrett Jones. We know how to win, and this is not the standard to which we play. And there was that level of frustration. But what I did not see yesterday that I have to speak on, that I don't agree with at all in what he did, was I completely because I'm telling you, I probably walked away from the game, and I didn't see this on any footage that I was looking at post game. I did not know that Malachi waved off Kane Womack when Kane was taking him out of the game. I did not see that. I did not know that happened. Now, to me, that's a level of disrespect that we cannot have. And herein lies the balance. Like, how do these coaches that are new, coming into what is Alabama football and all the things that it is, right? How does a Kane Womack, how does a Coach Kalen DeBoer handle that level of blatant disrespect on the field in the middle of a game with millions of people watching? He waved the coach off like, you're not about to sub me. I'm staying in the game. And he stayed in the game. He waved the coach off. I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that at all. And as a leader, that's an incredibly bad look for those you are supposed to be leading on your team. Oh no, I get to disrespect the coach. Oh no, I don't have to obey what the leader, the authority above me is saying that I need to do in this moment. And you're a fifth-year senior, you're getting all of this. And that's where I feel like, oh, I'd have called the timeout. They should have called the timeout, and they should have pulled his tail off the field right then and right there and handled that. Now, I just feel like you just can't. I mean, you just can't demonstrate that level of weakness. You can't demonstrate that level of I'm gonna allow you, the player, to get away with this right here in this moment. Now, Coach KDB, I'm sure, handled it after Malachi issued a nice, long, well-written, apology, via Twitter yesterday or whatever. I saw it on Twitter. And, I'm sure it's being handled internally. But I take issue with that. I take issue with that. There was not a public, let's call a timeout and get you out. Like, you're not going to do that on the field in the middle of a game. And we have all of these other players on the sideline, who are watching this. I didn't agree with that. And that really saddened me to know that it wasn't just I'm throwing a mouthpiece and I'm kicking a ball. It was, I'm going to defy, the coach. That wasn't a good look. So I get it. We're all one decision away from disaster. And in the heat of the moment, we can tend to, make those types of, have those emotional responses. And I heard a podcaster say that, that the guys are to play with emotion, but to not play emotionally. And we saw the emotional frustration there. And Malachi's a great kid. He's a great student. He's a great young man, I should say, and he has a great future ahead of him. This does not define him. I don't know what it'll do to his draft stock. There's a whole half of the season left to be played. But it was a defining moment to me that these coaches could have really stamped their mark on this is our team now. Because, Coach KDB's, remarks yesterday at the presser were that, Malachi was one of the few. It was Malachi and Milroe. I mean, and Tyler Booker, there were a few, that stayed in January when they could have left. And Malachi was one of the ones as a fifth-year senior. He chose to stay. So I get it. You feel this level of loyalty, to a captain on a team who has helped build a team, in the last, 4 years under Coach Saban. You want to keep that. You want to maintain some of that while still building your own team, a new team, so that's the balance I was speaking of. But I really could have felt that they could have just called the timeout and pulled him. Help him. Because at some point, as leaders, we have to help you help yourself for real. Like, let's not make this worse than it already is. But seeing the old footage of like a Tony Brown, and y'all know, if you know me, you know how I felt about number 2, Tony Brown, years ago on the Alabama football team. We called him Crazy Tony. And Tony was off the chain. But Tony, and after we won that natty against Clemson and Tony had that post game on the field, Tony was going off. But you need that level of intensity and passion on the squad. So it's like, how do we, maintain that, keep that? I don't want to necessarily say nurture it, okay? But how do we keep it, yet at the same time, manage it into where, there's a time and a place. So, and I know there's a ton of things. There's a ton of things that Coach Saban handled internally that never got to media about these players, y'all, because this part isn't new. The new part is all of this and the portal, being as active as it is, especially in the middle of a season, but Coach Saban handled a gazillion discipline issues behind the scenes that never even got out to the media. So this is the part where I feel like, okay, welcome to Alabama, Coach KDB and Coach Kane Womack. Welcome. Okay. It's different. We're different. And the media handles us differently. Like, they want to know every single thing, there is an obsession, and I feel like now we're getting ready to see what these coaches are really made of. Not just our players. I think we're getting ready to see, and it's most important that we get ready to see what our coaches are made of. Because like I said, it starts from the top. And once the players see what the coaches are made of, the players will respond accordingly. I love y'all. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay winning and y'all stay free.